Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Excited to be here. This was a last minute thing for me. I got an email last night saying that I was going to be pulled into this, but that's exciting, especially because I'm going to be talking to Craig Dubitsky today, who I am excited to chat with. I don't know if I have to give any sort of grand intro necessarily. We're going to be
I'll take
looking
it.
at sort of CPG in its kind of broadest sense, thinking about where the innovation can happen within that space. But Craig, maybe I will turn it over to you and just allow you to do a little intro of yourself and why you're here today.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm a long-standing PSFK fan. So it's a thrill to be here, and I'm sorry we're all doing this via video, not in person. But there you go. We're in it together. We're sticking it out. So quick background on me. I love people. I love brands. I think people write their narratives through their brands and through the things that they use to express themselves and purchase. And I think people should have better things, better defined a lot of different ways, more beautiful, more accessible, uh, generally more relevant, more natural. And and I have a history with CPG. I started out originally, I won't give you like my whole background because that would be too boring, but I was a trader, a derivatives trader. I'm an arbitrageur by nature. I see discrepancies in everything. And I got involved with CPG through, I have show and tell, I have like props. I have lots of packaging around. If you guys know Method, I was very fortunate. I met the original founders of Method when they were two guys mixing product in their bathroom, and agreed that there was a really big idea here. And basically, it wasn't just that design is going to be great and more natural formulations are going to be great. It's that culturally, women were not sitting around the house deep cleaning every day, pining over the fact that they hadn't married an astronaut, because that was sort of the height of sophistication back then. And they had this bigger idea, which was to make things that were beautiful, natural, you could leave out, but again, that were more culturally attuned to what was happening in the world. So involved with Method early on and was a founding board member there. I've done lots of stuff with, I helped launch Boots in the US, if you know Boots. I'm the original co-founder of EOS. You probably know it for the lip sphere, which I probably have one on my very messy desk. I apologize. I'm the guy who sat there with a sculptor and made the forms, and I wrote the copy on the shave cream. People actually don't realize the first product was actually a shave cream before the lip. And I wrote the directions on the back, which basically just say directions: shave, touch, smile. The idea being, if you need help on how to shave, you got bigger issues. And the other products out there were in steel cans. You couldn't recycle. If they fell on your foot, they'd probably break your toe. This is soft and grippable. Soft touch is great, but it wouldn't leave a rust ring in your shower. And also respected the fact that women don't have to like basically wear a skirt every day. And what if you wore pants and you had a hot date and you wanted to shave without having to shower again? This was a cream. It really was the first women's shave product that was a cream, which was, believe it or not, a really big deal. So, and I've done some other things too. And obviously I have Hello, which I'm very excited about and proud of. And we're recently the fastest growing oral care brand in America, which is incredible. The number one toothpaste, number one oral care product in all of Dollar General, which is really cool. And I'm very proud of that. And we're also the number one natural toothpaste and mouthwash in Walmart and Target, and growing like crazy, and very fortunate. So I have an amazing team. I'm here chatting with you, but honestly, without the team, I'd be a guy in my third floor office talking about how great it would be if we can make oral care friendly. So big props to the team.
Amazing. You seem based on your background, you seem like you're uniquely positioned to weather the storm that's happening in the background. There's a lot of research, I assume, sitting behind you back there.
Yeah, I've got a lot of product. And now I'm very proud, I'm wearing red and white check shirts. I kind of only wear check shirts, which is a weird thing. But yeah, I'm very excited to wear red and white now. Hello, very into January, we were acquired by Colgate, which is just the most incredible thing. They're the largest oral care company in the world. They operate in over 200 countries around the world. But the coolest fact for me, There are a whole bunch of cool facts actually about Colgate, but one in particular, it's the most penetrated brand in the world. It's like 60+% of households around the world have Colgate in them, which is higher than anything. So super excited. And they're just the greatest, nicest, warmest, smartest people. I can't even tell you. Just been incredible.
Amazing. And so that obviously happened fairly recently, and now with all of that upheaval or change in a good way, there's all sorts of other new changes afoot. But maybe we can sort of set the current reality aside for a minute. And I just want to sort of start from kind of broad strokes here. I think about some of the big consumer shifts that you think are particularly interesting, and the ones that you're kind of have been paying attention to, and I assume have been reflected in a lot of the the things that you've done to date in terms of building brands and products.
Sure. A big trend, and it's kind of funny to me that it's a trend, and it's going to be beyond obvious to anybody who's on the chat with us, is the move towards anything and everything more natural. Things that are a little bit more thoughtful in terms of how they're sourced, where they're sourced. That's obviously a major, major trend, and not a new thing. I mean, I jokingly say all the time, everything used to be natural. Everything was natural. You didn't say, come back to my natural log cabin or my natural cave, like thousands of years ago. Everything was natural. Everything became unnatural because it was going to be better living through chemistry. And basically we could use chemicals and all sorts of other things that were, again, like, I don't want to rag on all things chemical, because truthfully, we're all chemistry too. But a lot of companies switched into a mode of efficiency over everything, really, or efficacy at all costs. It didn't matter how the efficacy was achieved. And I think natural, now we can use technology to derive things from plants that before, just a few years ago wasn't really possible. So all things natural is certainly a mega trend. And the next big thing clearly is sustainability, because we're consuming a lot of stuff, and the C word, consumer, is a word I try to stay away from. I think we're people, we just happen to consume things. So how do we consume things in the most really thoughtful way possible? So I think that is definitely the way forward. Everybody's now sort of at a heightened level of awareness that all this stuff we're using is going somewhere when we're done with it. So being mindful of where we source, how we source, is critical. And I think we're going to see so much more emphasis on that going forward. It's ridiculous. Plus, we live in this connected world where when you find something interesting, you tell everybody you know about it. So I think the other big thing is transparency. And people use words like engagement, and engagement's great, but if you don't have anything interesting, no one really wants to engage with you. So creating things that are thoughtful and beautiful and sustainable and affordable and obtainable by the greatest number of people while causing the least amount of harm we can, that's going to be, I think, everything going forward. Efficacy and ethics and ethos all put together.
That's amazing. And I think, I mean, maybe your answer remains the same, but if we, sort of look at things that are sort of happening, sort of currently, I wonder if that sort of fundamentally kind of changes any of the things that you're thinking about, sort of going forward now.
I think for us, it's still about being really careful about where and how we source. Even our boxes are made from FSC certified paper, so we don't kill more trees, and we print with soy-based inks. We have some brand new stuff, actually. We have some product with CBD in them, and here's one. It's a CBD toothpaste. But the reason I hold this up is because it's, as far as I know, it's the first commercially available sugarcane tube. So it's made from sugarcane, which is super cool and sustainable. So, and it's about thinking about the stuff before you make it, not just like, what do you do with it afterwards? Because, our tubes have always been recyclable. That was always important to us. But the problem was local municipalities didn't have the wherewithal to put these into their stream because they all have different rules. And one of the reasons I'm so excited to be a part of Colgate now, and I have a cool role there. I'm the chief innovation strategist now for Colgate, which I'm also incredibly excited about. Being part of Colgate with the scale that they have, we can actually work really hard to influence the way municipalities look at the stream. So we can be thoughtful about how we source things, like sugarcane as an example, but then we can be thoughtful about how we engage down the stream with the local municipalities. And one of the really cool things about Colgate is they're taking this technology that they've worked on around recyclable tubes, and then they're open sourcing it. They're sharing it with everybody. So we're really, I just think that's pretty cool.
But that whole sort of like full life cycle of product, I think is super interesting. And like, obviously that's not something that traditionally has been, perhaps a hallmark of what's like happening within the CPG space. And I wonder if you can maybe dig into that just like a little bit more in terms of, both how that impacts things from a business point of view, but then also more broadly, like what that means in terms of like your relationship with consumers, perhaps.
Well, the whole, I think, magic, I shouldn't say the whole magic, but a big part of the magic for Hello from the very, very get-go was this notion that we can make personal care personal again. And it sounds like a soundbite. Wasn't meant to be a soundbite. From the very earliest days, we've had a Skype button on the website, and it's real, and it just comes to me. And that's why when I see things like trolley people doing things, I get really upset, because I make myself very available. And I've only had one or two experiences that were a little like odd. But for the most part, people are incredibly kind and thoughtful and curious. And I feel like being that open and being that transparent as a company, because a company is nothing more than a group of people. So as people, we're trying to be transparent and available. But we think that philosophy sort of goes all the way through into the product, because not everyone's going to want to Skype, like, who wants to look at this, right? But they're going to want to know about the product. And if they can learn about the product and where and how we source and why we make the decisions we make beyond just like reading stuff on the website, that's kind of cool. And I'm holding up this product, so fluoride-free toothpaste. And on the back, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but like next to every ingredient, it tells you what it does. And nobody really does that. And I think that's, again, like this level of transparency that's really important. And I think when you put stuff out, that's terrific. But I feel like the big part of the magic is how you receive information back from people. And not just information. I don't mean like data mining. I mean, what are you thinking? What's on your mind? What's going on in your life? You just want to talk and say hello. That's awesome. And I think the more you do that, the more positivity you put out there, the more positivity you get back. And then I find that people don't transact with your brand, they join your brand. And when they join, when they feel like they have a real emotional connection because someone on the other end actually gave a real, hoot about them. I'm prone to curse, but I'll hold back. When people feel it's real, they can tell the difference, and they have a BS meter, and they can tell if it's some corporate jargon nonsense auto reply, or if it's really, somebody at the company who is really there manning this stuff, looking at this stuff, making themselves, to use a word, vulnerable. And we're not trying to make ourselves vulnerable. We're just trying to be human. And I'm thinking about vulnerability now because, we got hacked and we have trolls, messing around. But it's really about being human about this stuff. And that's it. And we'll make mistakes. People make mistakes. And it's how you handle and engage and interact with people that makes all the difference.
So from a, maybe digging in a little bit into that, that sort of notion of the one-to-one relationship. And you obviously, through the context of Hello, you created this opportunity for people to directly sort of reach out to you in that context.
Yeah.
How do you see that kind of working at scale? And is it just sort of as simple as maintaining that humanity in terms of the way the brand kind of thinks and communicates, or is it more complicated than that? I guess, like, what are your thoughts in terms of that sort of scaling more broadly?
It's a great question. To be fair about it, didn't really think it through. Like, what happens if everyone tries to Skype at once? Or I don't think that's going to happen. But I think people are very, like I said, I think they're forgiving if you're honest and you're real back, and people can tell if you're full of shit or not. And if everyone decided to Skype at once and my computer blew up, I would apologize, because there are times I've gotten Skyped and I just can't talk, and I'm in a meeting, or I'm talking like this, or my children need me, or my wife says, I need help with something, or whatever it is. And I write back and I say, I'm really sorry I missed your call, or your ping, and can we set up another time? And I've only had good experiences. Again, I think most people are inherently really kind and good, and maybe that's very naive of me, but I actually I put a lot of faith in people. I'm a believer in people.
In terms of, I'm curious, and I think, like, this was something that you sort of hinted at before too, is the sort of idea of involving the customer in that sort of in that journey that you have with your brand, and I wonder, either through the context of Hello, or any of the other things that you've done, like, how do you see that sort of from a kind of best practices point of view?
I think there are a lot of companies that engage in all sorts of things, like, it's social listening. And I don't think it's just about listening. I really think it's about understanding that someone on the other end is a person. They took time out of their day to get in touch with you or share something with you. And you should take a little time to respond back, not just in the minute it takes you to type something, but, like, you just shouldn't cut and paste from a big document where you're like, oh, they wrote about, the cap. We have a standard set of responses to people that write in about a cap. Let's cut and paste. And I think it's like, someone took the time, we should take the time. And I think, again, I go back to the same stuff. People can tell. I mean, it sounds so obvious and so simple. It's really hard to do simple and make simple meaningful. But I think the bar is really low. And I think, like I said earlier, the more positivity we can put out there, and the positivity could come in the guise of just taking an extra minute to read fully someone's note to you and see if you can figure out some connection to them. Like, where are you from? Where did you buy this? Like, some obvious things, yes, but then do a little research, do a little, not anything snoopy, just, like, understand where they're coming from, mentally, physically, whatever you can find, or ask them, like, what else is going on? And again, the more I think you do that, you end up building a real relationship. You're not being transactional. And I think that's going to be really tricky to scale. And I find it interesting that there are all these brands that are called direct to consumer. It was like direct to consumer. It was like direct to you, but, like, what were you getting back? Like, I don't want to be direct to someone. I want to be engaging with someone. So I don't want to be pushing something at someone, and I don't want to be taking something from someone. I want to meet them where they are. And I think that's, a more meaningful approach. And I think for us, it's a social experiment, right? Do I know for sure this is the best practice? No idea. I do know that we're growing really fast. I do know that we get love letters. I mean, whoever sent a love letter to their toothpaste company, right? But we get love letters from people. It's amazing. So I can't tell you it's the best practice, but I can tell you firsthand that for us, it's been awesome.
And from the standpoint of, perhaps your, as you have built your organization and, brought, added employees into the fold, and how do you, I imagine on some level, a lot of what you're talking about is, eventually empowering, everyone at every level of an organization to feel like they can kind of step in and intercede.
Oh, totally, totally. I mean, everything communicates is something I always say, and I always say that no one has sole dominion over good ideas. And right now, like, we're still really small in terms of people. I mean, when I started, it was me, 3 people, and a dog, and now we're 20. I think we're 28 people. But for the first like 6 years, we were 12 people. We went from 12 to 24 just in the past like 12 months, and we started doing something really cool when it came to hiring. And I like to say no one works at Hello, like they join Hello. So my job is to try to magnetize the place so the coolest, smartest, best people can do their coolest, smartest, best work, basically. Because then it's not work. It's not a job. It's them doing what they love to do and are really great at. So I had this sort of crazy lightning bolt moment. We were interviewing somebody for a pretty senior marketing role a few years ago. And I basically got a lot of grief because I walked out of the interview, not to be rude, but because I asked the person in the interview to do a little something, a little something on the fly. And I gave her a photo from a social post of Hello. And I said, just caption this. How about like a half hour? Just all you need is one, you could do hashtag one word, one sentence. Like, I just wanted to see how the person thought. And I said, if you need to take any calls or do whatever, use the, restroom, get something to drink, whatever you need to do, how about half an hour? And I walked out and people gave me a lot of shit. Like, what are you doing? That's so inappropriate. You can't do that. And I was like, it's just one word, hashtag one word, like a normal picture of our product, on a sink top or something, just to see how the person thought. Anyway, someone said to me, I would never do that. That's so inappropriate. And I said, well, then I'd probably never hire you. Like I didn't think it was a crazy idea. And I had this epiphany because I wanted to really see how people were thinking about things, not just how they responded to some boring interview questions. And I came up with this questionnaire, and I would ask people, and it was homework, and I'd give people homework to literally take home, take all the time you want, and then share it with us, and then come back in and present it. And when you ask somebody, and I apologize, I've got like things buzzing here in the background. When you ask somebody to think of something they love and then to draw it, you learn so much about that person. And my favorite example is one of our supply chain and logistics people. I asked her in her homework to think of something she loved and to draw it. And she drew a really complex maze, and it was a functioning maze. And that's her thing. Like, she is a maze maker. She makes mazes and puzzles. And she's in logistics, which is like a giant fucking maze, right? You got to get from the start to the end with all your stuff. It's like, oh my God, this is what she loves. And this is the gig. And she drew it. And when you ask people to draw, not everyone can draw. So you get these incredible things from people. Either they get really creative about cutting and pasting. They have their children draw for them. They will do incredible things because you learn how people face fear and uncertainty when you ask somebody to do something they're not necessarily, used to doing or comfortable doing. And this person in particular, she told me the other day, I asked her if I could show that one slide from her homework to some folks at Colgate when we were first starting to chat with Colgate once the acquisition had been completed. And I wanted her permission first. And she said she was very excited that I wanted to share her picture. And she said, I knew this was the company I wanted to join when you asked that question. And I think all these little human touches, they scale more than people think, because she's now with us for, a good period of time. I hope she stays with us forever. We're growing with our people. And it's beautiful. We finish each other's sentences, and good ideas can come from anywhere in the company. And we don't silo anybody. I like to say we have no layers and no legacy. And that sort of gives us this really, truly unfair competitive advantage. So I would encourage anybody out there, if you're at a big company or a startup, try asking these different kinds of questions and let people shine. Like, you got to give people a chance to shine. That's the key. And I feel like the more we do that as a company, the more people that use our stuff, they reflect that shine right back at us. It's amazing. I'm the luckiest person ever. I can't stress that enough. So fortunate.
So there's a couple questions that came in, that legitimate questions.
Love a legitimate question.
The first is, what did the marketing candidate come up with in her 30 minutes?
It's a great question. It was the most vanilla sort of thing. It just didn't really show a whole lot of creativity. And I thought, and I don't want to be disrespectful, very capable person, very nice person, but I just got something that was so sort of generic that I felt that she was a mathematician type of marketer versus a like an emotionally connected creative marketer. And I didn't want someone who's just going to say, well, how big's my budget and how many eyeballs do I need? And that's all I got to do. And I'll hire an agency and they'll do the work. So I wanted someone who wasn't like that. And her very short answer to this thing was like, it was generic. Like, it could have worked for anything or anybody. Like I said, even if she just did hashtag, one word, it would have been.
Right. And then this is someone shouting you out. You and your team at Hello are awesome.
You're right. Thank you for that. For them, I'm not awesome. They're awesome.
Keen to hear your thoughts on surviving COVID-19 as a smaller and privately owned brand.
Sure.
I.e. Hello pre-Colgate acquisition versus a larger multinational that has more resources.
Sure. Great question. We are really lucky that we're in a daily use category that you can't really disintermediate. You might have been able to run out to the store beforehand and stock up on all sorts of things. You may have cut back. You may work your way through your big thing of arugula or rocket, if you like to call it rocket. And after you ate it this week, you're kind of done, and you'll be fine. You'll have some other vegetables. Maybe you'll have some frozen vegetables. You have to brush your teeth. Oral health and whole body health are inextricably linked. So we were so fortunate and are so fortunate to be in this daily use category that even with COVID-19, you're still going to brush your teeth. You're going to cut back maybe on some other things. Maybe you only bought one thing of Oreos and you wish you'd bought 20. But you can't not brush your teeth. So we're very fortunate that we were in the kind of category that most people feel like they need, and they were pantry loading. Our stuff ships really easily. We closed our own e-commerce because we wanted to be very mindful of our team, because our own e-commerce we ship ourselves. So we wanted to be careful, and we thought, the best way to do this on a bigger level is to just keep working through our online partners, or we can ship one big shipment, fewer people touching. So for us, actually, we just got, I think, our single biggest order from Amazon ever. Just the other day, depending on the hour or the day, we have like our kids' toothpaste is either like the #1 or #2 kids' toothpaste on Amazon. We do really, really well through e-commerce. So we were very fortunate, again, to have all that stuff in place before this happened. And we run really efficiently, and we manufacture everything in the States. So we had inventory, and I don't want to say we stockpiled because we didn't know this was going to happen like everybody else, but we were sufficiently inventoried to handle it. And that was pre-Colgate. So that may not be like my most concise answer in the world, and I apologize. But basically, shorthand, daily use category, you can't disintermediate, growing really quickly. So we had lots of product in anticipation of continued growth, because we just went from 19,000 doors to 45,000 doors of distribution in the past several months. So we've been ramping up our manufacturing just to handle the door count and the new number of facings we have in places like Walmart and Target and Dollar General. So we were very fortunate to have a bunch of product.
And maybe as we kind of get to the end here, maybe one more question. Someone asked what the biggest hurdle you had when you first started Hello.
The biggest hurdle I had, let's see, there was more than one. The biggest, like something I heard a lot, and I'll push on this one for a second for any other entrepreneurs out there, is that people would say, "Are you kidding me? It's a $40 billion category controlled by 3 people. Like, you'll never do it. Why has no one done this before? And that's my favorite question. Like, my favorite question is, why has no one done this before? I actually want to do things that when people see the finished product, they go, what took so long? Why didn't anybody ever do that before? So I would just encourage you not to listen to people that say no, because a lot of people told me, no, you can't do it. So, and another thing I'll share, because I'm sure there are people who are on here who are part of big companies. And what I would say is, you're an entrepreneur too. I tell people this all the time. If you have an idea and you can make it real, you're an entrepreneur. Doesn't matter if you took out a second mortgage on your house and you quit your job and, you didn't eat for 3 months while you built your first prototype, or you're inside of a big company. It doesn't matter. If you have an idea and you can make it real, you are an entrepreneur. So just make sure other people in your organization respect that you're going to take some chances, because I think what's happened is a lot of companies were scared to take chances, and all these other smaller companies came in that were very bold and very willing to take chances, and look what's happened. So don't give up. Keep pushing on your ideas, and don't listen to the people that tell you you can't do it. So again, biggest hurdle for us was people saying, "Are you crazy? It's a big category. You just can't do it."
And then, maybe as a closeout, as you sort of look at things kind of moving forward in whatever context you want to, I'm wondering, like, what as you kind of get your feet wet in, within the context of the new organization and the new role alongside Hello, what are you personally, like, really excited about working on?
I'm excited in this new role to basically help look at a bunch of extant equities, a bunch of brands that are already there, and see if there are some ways to generate some additional excitement around those things. So I'm fired up. I'm all things Hello. I'm still, I guess once you're the founder, you're always the founder. And I'm the chief creative officer, and, I touch a lot of things at Hello. But I'm also very excited to start playing around with a bunch of other things inside of Colgate. And what I'm really excited about is the team of people at Hello and how we're working with the team at Colgate. And also that we are going to be able to bring Hello all over the world, because we had so much demand. I mean, I stopped counting at one point at 85 countries with retailers and big distributors asking us for product. And we're only available in the US right now, but the demand has been incredible. And now we have the right partner. So I'm super excited, and the whole team is really, to bring our naturally friendly messaging and brand and product proposition to the widest number of people possible. We think that's going to be just incredible. And as an entrepreneur, as a creative person, it's a dream come true. Some people said, "Oh, you sold out." I'm like, that is such a bullshit comment. We're not selling out. We are so excited because the dream is to make stuff people can fall in love with and make it affordable and accessible to everyone. That's the big idea. So we couldn't be more excited for what's coming down the pike. We just got to get over this wild moment in time, and I hope everyone stays at home and stays safe and stays healthy, and we get through the other side of this thing, and we just go make more magic. That's it.
Amazing. Well, Craig, thanks so much for spending the time with us today.
Thanks for having me. Oh, if anyone wants to call or Skype or write, it's Craig at hello-products.com. You can Skype me from the website. Just, let me know. I always give out my cell phone number, but since we have some crazy troll people that were on here, maybe I won't do that. But ping me, call, write, and we'll hook it up. And I hope you're all staying safe. And, it's a rare time. There's no doubt about it, but hopefully we can focus on some exciting things for the future, and do some good work at home to get ready for that.
Someone asked quickly to repeat your email address, if you could.
Sure. It's Craig, CRAIG, at hello-products.com. So hello-products.com, and it'll find me. Again, I'm very excited to have been able to chat with you guys. And for those of you watching at home safely, thank you. And I hope you're using our stuff. And if not, let me know and we'll get you hooked up. And I just, I'll eat some for you just for fun.
All right.
Enjoy. Here's to fresh breath.
Yes, that's
Thanks, Craig.
fluoride free. You never eat fluoride. All right. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
See
Bye.
you, Craig. See you, Jeff. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.